What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, y'all, and we're talking politics. Once again, and that's all we talk about. I know that was kind of stupid to say, but once again, I do this right off the head. There's no script, so let's just go ahead and get right on into it. Harris, cautious on policy, aims to outmaneuver Trump and address 2020 vulnerabilities. Now, we've noticed, by chance, if you go to Kamala Harris's campaign website, there's no policy positions at all. So what does she actually represent? You've got all these polls are swinging hard for Kamala Harris, you know, from where they were for Biden, of course, swinging hard, but she's not really up by all that much. In aggregate, I think it's like 0.8%. But who are all these people going to these rallies and cheering for Kamala Harris constantly when she has no policy positions? Has none whatsoever. You go on, like I said, you go on a campaign website, and then she's promising to do all this stuff. Well, how come you're not doing that right now? But this is stuff we'll get into. Let's get into this story, because boy, do I have a slap in the face for any of you Kamala Harris people out there. Vice President Kamala Harris is trying to outmaneuver President Donald Trump and address old vulnerabilities on her policy positions as she starts to fill in how she would govern if elected in November. You can get an idea of that by just looking at the past 4 years. She was the most unpopular vice president in recent U.S. history, as a matter of fact. Her approval rating was less than Joe Biden's, for crying out loud. And Joe Biden had a very low approval rating. Vice presidents rarely have policy portfolios of their own. Oh, do they? That's interesting. And almost always set aside any views that differ from those of the Oval Office occupant. Now, after 4 years of following President Joe Biden's lead, Harris is taking a cautious approach to unveiling a policy vision in her own right. Oh, that's what it is. That's why she hasn't put out any sort of policy whatsoever, because she's just being cautious, y'all. No, I'm sorry. That's BS. She's just being cautious. But her surprise ascendance to the top of the ticket after Biden dropped his re-election bid also means her policy platform is being pulled together just as quickly. So they're muddling through it, folks. And her ascendance to the top. This logic has never played well for me. And I heard a couple of people talking about this in a live stream the other day. They were talking about, well, Kamala Harris is, you know, it's anti-democratic for them to just place Kamala Harris in there, and they were thinking like, well, you know, it's the next logical step. Joe Biden is the president, and if he happens to be incapacitated for some reason, Kamala Harris would be president. Yeah, that's how the presidency works. And that's base logic right there, and I'll give them brownie points for having base logic coming from a leftist, right? But that's not, when you think about it, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper into that, okay? So that's not how campaigns work, right? Once again, I'll put it to you this way. If Donald Trump were to have been assassinated, and he already had picked J.D. Vance, would J.D. Vance take the reins and just keep going? No, I'm sorry. That's not how campaigns work. The primary voters voted for Joe Biden. It's unfair to these people. However, you know, they want to be told who to vote for. Who am I to tell these people otherwise? I'm trying to point out that it's very anti-democratic to just, the Democrat elites, to just say, oh, Kamala Harris is now the nominee, and you have no say in it. That's all I'm saying. If you feel like that's okay for them to tell you who to vote for, by all means, go right ahead. But just think about what you're doing, is all I'm going to say about that. When Harris inherited Biden's political operation. Oh, that's how it is. You inherit political operations. Once again, I'm sorry, this logic just, it doesn't work. If any political campaign out there, the showrunner of that political campaign were to drop out, do you think the running mate would just take over? Answer me that down in the comment section, please. Because that makes no sense to me. In late July, the campaign's website was quietly scrubbed of the 6-point issues page that framed the race against Trump, including expanding voting protections and restoring nationwide access to abortion. Instead, Harris has peppered her speeches so far heavy on biography for herself and her running mate, with broad goals like building up the middle class. She has called for federal laws to provide abortion access and ban assault-style weapons. So any you 2A guys out there that plan on voting for Kamala Harris, I wouldn't do it. But has been thin on the details of what specifically they would entail or how she would persuade Congress to make progress on some of the most hot-button political issues. Because she doesn't. Well, she's not a good politician. She's not a negotiator. She's a diversity hire. Asked by reporters on Saturday when she would unveil her policy platform, Harris promised more details this week and added, "It'll be focused on the economy and what we need to do to bring down costs and also strengthen the economy overall." Imagine that. See, this is the conundrum that she's in, though. Once again. Okay, she's going to put all this economy stuff out there, right? Oh, we're focusing on the economy, y'all. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Well, let me ask you this. Like, please, any Democrat that's planning on voting for Kamala Harris that might watch this video, please, ask yourself this question. Anything that she comes out with and says, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, ask yourself, okay, why? Why are you going to do that if you get elected? Why haven't you been doing this for the past 4 years? Why haven't you made some of these suggestions to Joe Biden? It's a good question. It's a really good question that maybe you should think about it. The first major window into her thinking came this past weekend with a proposal pulled not from the policy backwaters of the Biden administration or the cutting room floor of the legislative process, but from her rival, Donald Trump. Harris announced that she, like Trump, wants to end federal taxation of tipped earnings for workers, with the added caveat that she would limit the plan to those in the lower and middle incomes. Oh, tax the rich. Pay your fair share, y'all. The idea has drawn bipartisan support in recent months and is particularly salient in service industry-heavy Nevada. It is also one of the most prominent ideas embraced by Trump in his 2024 bid to get back into the White House, a bonus in the view of the Harris camp, which has tried to needle the Republican into making unforced errors. Now, I love this right here because, two things. One, she stole that from Donald Trump. Why? Because it was popular? Because it makes sense? And number two, how come you're not already doing it? Once again, Democrats, why did she not already try to do this? Why has there been no proposal to Joe Biden to do this very thing? I'll tell you why. Flashback. Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to let the IRS track workers and tips to be taxed. This isn't that old, y'all. Check this out. Kamala Harris shamelessly... Oh, okay, so this obviously is a biased news source, so take whatever it is with a grain of salt, but the facts are there. Kamala Harris shamelessly stole President Trump's no tax on tips idea. Harris has zero policies on her campaign website because the majority of the American people are unhappy with crippling inflation and open borders thanks to the Biden-Harris regime. What the fake news media is not reporting is that Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to let the IRS track workers' tips to be taxed. 2 years ago today, I proudly cast the tie-breaking vote to pass our Inflation Reduction Act, Kamala Harris boasted last week on Facebook. Yeah, and you're probably going to hear that on the campaign trail somewhere, Democrats, that, oh yeah, we got the Inflation Reduction Act. We reduced inflation, y'all. No, the Inflation Reduction Act didn't have anything to do with reducing inflation. The Fed helped that a lot, not the Inflation Reduction Act, by the way. The so-called Inflation Reduction Act added more than 80,000 new IRS agents to the agency to track tipped workers and $600 Venmo payments. On this vote, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 50, the Senate being equally divided. The Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill as amended is passed, Harris said in the August 7th, 2022 video, which is there, but I'm not going to play it because I just read everything out. But get this, y'all. Check this out. The media is covering Trump's no tax on tips proposal a lot more favorable now that Kamala Harris stole the idea. As much as you hate the media, it's not enough. And here we have a post from Tim Murtaugh. This is the icing on the cake. Check this out, y'all. Only sharp-eyed readers will be able to spot the difference in coverage of the two proposals. Check it out. Look, this is from CBS. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. As a matter of fact, I covered that article a few months ago. When was that? It's not saying when that was, but that was whenever he came out with it. I don't remember when it was. It was like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago at the most. And then check this out, y'all. Right here on the other side, they put this together just like I said, the freaking icing on the cake. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position, saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. There you go, folks. There's your vice president, and you really want this person? Lies. It's all lies. She's going to lie through her freaking teeth. You're going to get more of the same. It's going to destroy this country. Or, not really. I'm being hyperbolic. But we're going to go further and further downhill if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz take the reins of this country. It's going to be insane. I talked about this the other day. Might have been yesterday. I don't know. The days kind of blur when you're doing this. It's kind of weird. But I talked about this the other day. We've had estimated, anywhere from 15 to 20 million criminal aliens come across that southern border. Right? The official numbers are around 10 million. That's undocumented. That's the ones they know about. And the gotaways are anywhere from 5 to 10 million. It's insane. Right? So think about this. We know that Kamala Harris has the same policy positions as Joe Biden, pretty much. Open borders. We're going to continue to do it. Why? Because she was the border czar. She was tasked with going to South America and looking for the root causes of migration. Right? But not thinking, okay, so that's a dog whistle. Why? Why is that a dog whistle? Because these people that are coming across our southern border are coming from all over the damn world. They're coming from everywhere, not just South America, right? And it's not even the vast majority are coming from South America, right? There's hordes of Chinese nationals that come across our southern border. There's lots of Africans, lots and lots of Africans, lots of people from the Middle East, lots of people from South Asia, not just China, but Laos, Vietnam, Korea, all them places. Lots and lots of people come across that southern border. It's insane. And they've done nothing. Getting back to the point. She done nothing. She went to see what the root causes were, did nothing. Come back, said nothing. Nothing at all. And then we just got more and more and more people coming across that southern border. All right? Inflation. We know for a fact. I covered it right here on this channel. When inflation started rising up to 9% and eventually got to 9%, the Fed, the Biden administration, they did absolutely nothing to try to stop inflation from rising up. They only reacted to it, said, oh, it's transitory. Well, duh. It's going to come down. It has to. Otherwise, our economy will freaking crumble. The deep state's not going to allow for that. The establishment isn't going to allow for that. But the fact that they allowed it to get that high in the first place is all on them. We had a supply chain problem, and our Secretary of Transportation, where was he? He was on paternity leave. And I say it that way because there was no maternity leave for either one of them. It was two males. They adopted a little boy, which is admirable, by the way. Taking in a kid that is not yours and loving it like it's your own is very admirable. I will say that. Adoption is one of the most admirable things a couple can do, right? And it's a good way for gay couples to have children. Because why? Obvious reasons, I guess. They can't have their own children. And there's so many abortions out there. It's outright insane. That, to me, is a genocide. Especially the mid to late term abortions, which, don't happen nearly as much as the first trimester abortions. However, they still happen, and it's insane, right? You go and argue with one of these leftists about abortion, and they'll say, oh, well, late term abortions never happen. So why are you allowing for it? I don't get that one, right? They want to argue for it. Oh, it's a woman's reproductive rights. But it doesn't happen. So why are you advocating for reproductive rights if it doesn't happen in the late term, right? Most people out there agree. And this is why it's such a sticky issue, because you got the extreme right and the extreme left. They want all the way up to birth on the left and nothing at all on the right. Most everybody falls in the middle, right? I'm a person, I believe it's murder. I would be just fine with an outright ban on abortion, except for the three exceptions or whatever: rape, incest, and of course the mother's life. Right? Those three. I'm fine with those. That's just life. That's just how it happens. But I'm also a person of compromise. I also see that, hey, we live in a free country. This is something that these people fight dearly for. So I'm willing to compromise. How about 4 weeks? How about 8 weeks? How about 12 weeks? What's wrong with 12 weeks? Nothing whatsoever. That's 3 whole months. Once you get past that 3rd month, it's too late. At that point, you're killing a baby. It is outright murder. But, once again, like I said, this issue is a sticking point. It's a very hard sticking point. The left keeps saying that the right, that Donald Trump wants to ban it outright. It's an outright lie. Kamala Harris is going to keep spouting that nonsense and make people believe it. People keep repeating it. Even though Donald Trump has said over and over and over again, it's a state decision. The federal government has nothing to do with it. And that's why I think a Donald Trump presidency would be a good one. Give the power back to the states. The federal government should be smaller than what it is. The federal government should have and be about as big as a state government. Yeah, that's what I think as far as the federal bureaucracy. The federal government's responsible for the military. I do believe in a strong military. I think we spend too much money on that military, but I do believe in a good, strong military. We need strength for peace, right? Peace through strength has proven to work. It's got a proven track record. It's worked in the past. We've proven that out, right? So, hey, I'm right there with you with the military-industrial complex BS. Hey, whatever. I don't like all these foreign wars. That's why I say peace through strength, not funding foreign war by proxy. But I just don't understand the Harris campaign whatsoever. But I think I've rambled on for plenty long enough on this one, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Hopefully, if you're a leftist, you were thinking about voting for Kamala Harris, I've made you think about a couple of things. Maybe you'll show up to one of her rallies and ask her one of these questions. Maybe she will change her mind and become some sort of centrist, a moderate, something, and not be so far left. I'm still holding out hope that if she does happen to get elected, that she will be a moderate. She will, moderate the country as if there are two extremes, and realizes that, hey, look, you can't just rule with an iron fist from the left over the right. You have to come to the middle and compromise with people. Otherwise, you're going to sow unrest in this country, and nobody wants that, y'all. We don't want... That is such a destabilizing force that it would destroy this country, I believe. And we don't want that at all. No violence whatsoever. Ever. I hate violence. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.